All right, we are going to get started in about 30 seconds today. We've got 15 minutes of mobility. It's going to feel a little bit like a flow of sorts. We will be on the ground, so make sure you got a mat if you're on a harder surface. Just kind of moving slow, feeling out our body. It's not going to be anything super crazy, but I am really excited to go ahead and get started with you. So let me start my timer and then we're going to be good to go. We are ready to go. So we'll take a few big, deep breaths all the way in. Oh, and out. Feel those shoulders. And out. This one might feel a little bit closer to a flex break than a fit break, but being flexible and mobile are both just as important as being fit and healthy, right? So we've got options. All right, give me 2 more big deep breaths in and out. 1 more. Hands come behind your back. Roll those shoulders. Feel that chest open up. All right, you've got options for that grip on the back side. You can grab on to thumbs. You can grab on to the fingers, interlocking those fingers. And if you're doing that, my dream is that the heels of your hands can actually come and connect together. That's gonna make it a little bit harder. Keep rolling those shoulders back. Feel that chest open. If you can, even lifting those arms off and away from your back. A little bit tighter of a stretch here. All right, go ahead and release those arms. We're gonna take a few swimmer arms. Oh, getting ready, kind of feeling that spine twist a little bit as we bring our arms forward. I was in swimming once upon a time, and I just remember it was the weirdest thing when you're like, oh yeah, when your whole body is supposed to twist with you. I was like, I thought it was just supposed to be my shoulders. The weirdest things, you know? You learn so much in high school sports. All right, switch directions, bringing it back. Good. I'm like actually been doing the little wrist twisty thing, I guess. Good. Working through the range of motion on that shoulder. We're trying to keep the bicep by the ear. 4. Good. Go ahead and take your hands out in front. We'll get some movement through the spine. Good. All right. We're gonna put our hands on our hips and do a few hip circles here. Swinging it around. Oh. You can switch directions as often as it feels comfortable for you. I'll probably do about 2 circles before switching directions. Getting that mobility, that movement to get down into our lower half of the body. Upper half, relatively warm at this point, right? Good. She heard the little ding in the music and she looked all over the place. Oh, I'm going to sit into my hips just a little bit more, sending that hip out. If you hung out yesterday for lower body and core, ooh, the outer side of our legs. Try not to lean too far forward when we're here. We want to keep ourselves in line, sending that hip out, stretching right through the outer hip. All right, just for a little bit of blood flow, let's march it out. I sort of said a yoga flow, but mobility. It's a mobility flow. How about that? We're gonna call it a mobility flow from now on. All right, bring those legs out, out, in, out, and in. Good. I don't know if you can see her little hanger coming through every once in a while. She was sleeping right before class, and then I started moving, and she woke up. Excuse me. All right. Go ahead and settle that march down. We're going to do a few hip circles. So bring in that hip out and in. If you need, find something to balance on, hang on to, maybe a wall. Try to keep that stance nice and tall. We're not completely leaning over to get that hip around. Give me what you can, even if your hip circle's down here. Just keep working into it. Oh, I'm not moving a lot, but it's a little roasty outside today. I'm not sure if I ever told any of you guys, this is my garage. Welcome to my garage. So there's no air conditioning in here. It gets really toasty really quick. All right, and we're gonna switch directions with that hip circle. So, getting the outside of those hips to fire up. If your hip flexors are starting to feel it, tuck those hips, activate your abs a little bit more while lifting that knee. Good. Big circle with that knee. Oh. We'll stretch after this. How about that? That's what we'll do. 3 more. Or 4 more. Whatever's gonna get you equal. All right. Look at those hips. A few more circles. I'm gonna take a low lunge. So my back knee is gonna be on the ground. Whatever makes sense for you. Maybe you wanna have a little bit more power, a little bit more strength today. Go ahead and keep that back leg up off the ground. But we're gonna send it down into a lunge. That front knee stays behind your toe, even if your back knee is dropping all the way to the ground. Woo. All right. We are going to shift our weight forward, pushing through the knee. Well, not really pushing through the knee. Pushing to get the knee right on top of the ankle. Try to keep your shoulders, your hips all square to the front, or squared toward your toe. Oh, hello. It's so nice to see you. Hello. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Good job. If you can, feel those hips sink a little bit further. And then inhale, lift your arm up overhead. Good, feeling that hip open up. We're gonna stay here a little bit longer. Take a few deep breaths in and out. We've got time. Good, in 3, 2, straighten that front leg. 1, send your hips back down. A little hamstring stretch here. Pull those toes up. You see them right behind the puppies right there. All right, as we're here, it's super easy to kind of like rotate. Try to keep those hips squared to the front, shoulders squared to the front as we lean forward. Maybe you need like a block, something to hang on to so you can balance because your fingers can't quite reach the ground, that's okay. Or your hands are right above your knee or right below your knee for balance. Good. We're gonna go ahead and switch it up. Bring that opposite leg forward. I just usually rotate directions, but whatever makes sense for you and your space. Shift those hips forward. Oh, hello. Woo. Oh, sorry. Sorry. All right, keeping that knee right behind your toe. Pressing through with the hip. You guys are rocking it. Guys, gals, friends, foes, whomever's on the other side of the camera, right? Good. Try to take a few big exhales. Release a little bit more. Feel that loosen up in that hip flexor. I'm not even doing much and I'm starting to drift. Oofda. Oofda. All right, if you're ready, take a big exhale. Straighten your front legs. Send those hips back. Oop. This is where a little balance comes in. Hips, shoulders square to the front. Find that hamstring stretch. Good. Trying to keep the spine long. Feeling that stretch through the backside. Our last two moves are going to be a little bit more movement than we've been doing so far. We're going to be standing up, getting nice and low. Yogi squat, getting those hips open a little bit. We'll just go down, stand up a few times, see how that feels. And then our last move is one of my favorite hip openers. Lots of hip stuff. It's important. All right, so we're gonna stand on up nice and slow. Take your time. Feet are gonna be just outside of those hips. Sometimes I like going into a yogi squat from a forward fold. Sometimes I can just drop down here. I'm feeling more forward fold today, so bear with me. Big breath in, hands up overhead. Exhale, find a forward fold, leaning forward, get the backs of the legs nice and stretched out. If it's your first fold, well, no, it is our first forward fold today, actually. So go ahead, have a little bit of bend in that knee. Little bit of bend. Right. Nothing wrong with a little extra bend. Relax the head. And then we're going to drop our hips into a yogi squat. So sometimes I have to turn my feet out a little bit wider to try and keep my heels on the ground as I drop my hips here. All right, there's no perfect way for this yogi squat, but it is easier. Everything stays a little bit more aligned if you can get your heels down onto the ground. So that's my challenge for you in this yogi squat, is getting those heels down. Then once you're here, we're not all crouched over. We want to try and lift through the chest. With my hands together, I'm kind of pushing my knees out just a little bit. Maybe we shift side to side. All right, big deep breath in. We're gonna stick on up. Exhale, forward fold. We're going down once more. Breathe a few breaths here in the forward fold before dropping the hips. Finding your yogi squat. Ooh, sometimes it's a little much. I looked up on the camera and I saw Zelda right in front of me on the camera, and I thought there was like a leech or something on my screen, and I was really confused for a second. It's really, really weird. I've never had that situation happen before. What a weirdo. What a weirdo. All right. If you're ready, go ahead and gently fall backwards onto your bum. The setup for this next one is you're going to need a little bit of space. Both knees are going to be at a 90, and we're just going to kind of sit. Turn a little bit. We're going to sit, so we kind of got almost a little cramp here, a little bit of oblique action here. What we're going to do is basically swisher, windshield wipe our knees back and forth. So the dream is that both knees hit the ground. You've got a little hip movement here, side to side. It's going to be easier if you're leaning back onto your hands. If you're like, man, this does nothing for me, Susie, both knees hit the ground every time, I want you to sit up a little bit further. Push through that hip to help get the knee to the ground. And then if you're really, really feeling adventurous, challenged, you can get both hands up off the ground, working that mobility through the hips, side to side. I'm like scooting forward while I'm going. All right, I'll steal Zelda's spot here. So side to side, back and forth. If you need those hands right behind, that's okay. We're gonna work through the end of the timer here, getting those hips side to side. This is a super good one. If you're feeling tight, this is almost like a tightness test. We should have done it at the beginning. Like, oh, nothing moves. Now we can move a little bit more. Good. Keep moving. Awesome. 3, 2, and 1. Thank you guys for stretching with me, getting a little bit of mobility through our hips, through our shoulders, and through our spines. If you want to stick on the floor and stretch a little bit more, by all means. But my mobility is done for the day. Thank you guys so much for 15 minutes of your time. Hopefully I will see you tomorrow, Wednesday. I believe I'm hitting up yoga tomorrow. So maybe I'll see you there for a little bit of mobility, a little bit more flexibility. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.